Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I am your host, Kate, and joining me this week is Kestrel.
I am DJ.
And Cain is here.
I am also DJ. Let's just all be DJ.
And this is your host, DJ. DJ is not here. DJ
yeah, unfortunately.
Had to be somewhere else, I guess.
He's too cool.
Apparently.
Too cool for
Hey guys, have you played Lessons in Love?
Wow. No, I haven't. Thank you for mentioning. I have to get on that sometime. I need to ask him where I can even get it. Like, I forget where I can even go to, like, look at, I guess, the description or store page or however visual novels work.
Listen to any of our episodes. He drops it 2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check back on some previous episodes to figure that out.
It was probably up on itch.io or something.
Yeah,
That sounds about right.
that was definitely one of them, yeah.
I've actually never used that site. I know there are a lot of games on there, and it works like another, online store to buy games that you can play on your computer, but it always felt like it was where a lot of like the lower budget indie titles and stuff go. Like you aren't going there to buy Doom Eternal or whatever.
It feels like the shareware hubs of ye old yesteryear.
Ooh.
Where it'd be like, here's this random game from Russia. It's up on this weird-ass website. Good luck.
Shareware is how I played the original Diablo. I had a shareware disc. I think you could only play like the first 3 or 4 levels, maybe, like dungeons. But I just play the shit out of those.
Yeah, that was...
I don't think it was the full game.
That was me in Marathon back in the day.
Ooh, Bungie's first title. I think that was their first title.
It was one of their first titles.
Yeah.
I think there was something before it.
An early Bungie effort.
It's so weird now, considering it's like, yeah, they used to be a Mac developer.
Yeah, I know. I remember watching like a documentary about Halo and about how Halo was created basically from like they were working on an RTS, and then they zoomed in on one of the soldiers and they just started talking about him. And then they made a story for him, and then they just scrapped the RTS ID entirely and made a game about this one grunt soldier they were looking at.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with it, obviously. They're great. I love the Halo games.
It's kind of like how Doom was originally supposed to be a licensed Aliens product, but they wouldn't license Aliens to them, so they said, fuck it.
That would have been dope, too, though. That's a win-win. Either you would have gotten a cool Alien franchise game, or you got Doom. So that would have been a win-win.
Video games.
Indeed.
They just announced Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but haven't announced anything about that. They had up an 8-hour art stream of a guy photobashing a picture together for the game.
I saw that, which is kind of cool in a way. It's creative.
Yeah, it hasn't been done before, so...
Yeah, it's better than just a press release or something.
Yeah.
With like
and
a
then they're
hype
like,
video.
Yeah, it's so funny because they strung people out for 8 hours and then they're like, trailer tomorrow. I can only imagine how furious people must have been.
I haven't played Assassin's Creed since 2 in Brotherhood, like the Ezio like Auditore saga or whatever.
Yeah,
when you were in Italian.
Yeah.
I haven't played them since.
I've
heard the newer ones are all right. All right to pretty good.
I like Origin and Odyssey a lot.
Oh, well, there you
Isn't that one of those video game franchises where they release like 2 a year?
It's been 1 a year, except for there's a 2-year gap this time, so...
Yeah, for a while they were releasing, it felt like a couple a year, because they would do like a main storyline one, or like a main entry, and then there'd be like a PS Vita or something spin-off that they would release as well. So they always tried to keep something in the pipeline until eventually, I guess, the quality control just really went to shit, and then they scaled it back.
They had released a game. One of the games came out super broken, and I can't remember which one it was.
That was Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was super broken, apparently.
Yeah, people's faces would just remove, but their teeth and their eyes would stay. So you would just be talking to someone, and you would just be talking to teeth and eyeballs.
Yeah.
So it would turn into a fever dream.
Right.
Origin and Odyssey are good. They will take you hundreds and hours to complete. I will hopefully finish Odyssey before the new game comes out.
Indeed.
But, I don't know. Video games, yeah.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about probably everything but anime this week because...
Well, there are definitely some anime that'll match the theme.
Yeah, we will be talking about anime, but it's... Yeah. How many shows have been postponed?
We're not talking about the current season because there is no current season.
Hey, my show's still playing.
I have 7 shows left. I normally have anywhere from 15 to 25.
I tried watching the Tower of God 4th episode, but it kept breaking. I don't know why that was. Like,
Weird.
some subtitles for a form on a wall that listed the rules of this game they're playing wouldn't leave the screen.
Interesting. What app was that? PS4?
Yeah, it was VRV.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't use Verve and I don't use the PS4 app.
I didn't know Verve was still around. I thought they'd killed it.
It's not Funimation anymore, but they have High Dive on there and a bunch of other services.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal, really. It's, I think, $9.99 a month, and you get Crunchyroll, High Dive, a channel that has, like, old Nickelodeon cartoons on it, and then a couple, like, indie cartoon channels, and then just this miscellaneous channel called, like, Verve Selects, where they just have random shit, like Mystery Science Theater 3000, or other, like, live action-y, cult classic-y kind of things. So
I feel like
it's not a bad deal, really.
I feel like MST3K is available on everything. Some nights I'd be on channel surfing and I'd find it at, like, midnight on some random-ass digital channel on, like, a subcarrier on broadcast TV nowadays. I'm like, why is this on? I can't believe this is on!
In terms of streaming, if you have a Roku, they have the Shout TV channel, which has a lot of MST3K, because Shout TV owns the rights. Netflix used to have it, at least, like the old. They have the new, but they at least used to have the old, but Emily and I haven't had Netflix for a couple months now. We're trying to cycle in and out our main streaming platforms. But it's not super available, I guess is what I'm trying to say, like the older episodes, without just buying them or buying a subscription to Shout TV's Amazon channel or whatever.
I mean, I come from back in the days where they used to encourage people to trade tapes with MST3K episodes on it. So, to me, this is high availability, yeah.
Yeah, that's in their credit scene. I think it said, keep spreading the tapes.
Yeah, keep circulating the tapes.
Yeah, circulating the tapes. They actively encouraged it.
Yeah, actively encouraging piracy back in the day because they could.
What a great show. One of my favorites.
It is pretty good.
But maybe now we should jump into any news. There's definitely one piece of news that just happened. Maybe it was a few days ago, but now I think Monday maybe. But I don't know if Kestrel, you had anything else you wanted to talk about before that.
I do have lots of news on the news doc.
Cool. Well then, let it rip.
So, first piece of news is very sad. Keiji Fujiwara has passed away at age 55 from cancer. He is a seiyuu who has played Leorio in Hunter x Hunter, Kimura in Hajime no Ippo, Lad Russo in Baccano, Hughes in both Fullmetal Alchemist series. He's one of the only voice actors who played the character in both series. AC/DC in JoJo, Shin's father Hiroshi in Crayon Shinchan, Holland in Eureka 7, Axel in Kingdom Hearts, Shiro in Blue Exorcist, many, many more. Very distinctive voice, great range, a very recognizable veteran of the industry. And he had taken a hiatus for a few years back, and had some of his ongoing roles replaced for the time. And they just said it was due to, undisclosed health reasons. And then he returned and was active right up until this, and until it was announced a few days later, I don't think anyone even knew he had cancer. But he was in a show this season. He reprised his role in the Final Fantasy VII remake that was released 2 days before he died. So he was active right up to the end, even though he had taken that hiatus previously. So, very unfortunate.
Way too young. Fuck cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good about hiding that, kind of like their media. Either they're good at hiding it from the media, or their media is a lot more respectable. And not trying to just get up in people's shit all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't...
It's just if they don't tell anyone, then...
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's always announced, like, several days after they die. And, yeah, the fact that it wasn't even announced that he had cancer... I feel like it was the same thing with Unsho Ishizuka when he died a couple of years ago. It was announced like a few days after he died, and it was from cancer that I don't think was known beforehand.
I mean...
I guess that you were able to keep a low enough profile.
I don't know. No, David Bowie didn't tell anybody he had cancer.
That's true.
Yeah. So some people can get away with it.
Yeah. If you just want to make a point of keeping it under wraps, then it works. For most people, at least.
Yeah, I can't. I'll have to look up some of his voice parts because I've definitely watched the shows that he's been in. Mm-hmm. Not all of them in Japanese. Like I haven't heard the Japanese dub of Bakano because I like the English one a lot. But definitely Hunter x Hunter and a couple of the others. I'll have to check back in so I can at least put a voice to the face because I feel like I should know more of these.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those very distinctive voices. So I think once you listen to a few, you'll be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be pretty instantaneous.
Yep, he was great. Very sad. Way too young. I was always a little worried because even in interviews back to like when he was 40, he looked like he was in pretty bad health. And then, yeah, like I said, he had the hiatus for a year for health reasons, which I assume is related to this.
Probably, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Sucks.
What's
All
next?
Right. Next piece of news. So you may remember that Netflix is making a live-action Cowboy Bebop TV series. Now, as the curse goes, they were getting a little too close to that being a reality. So the lead actor had to be injured to delay its production, and then we had to have a pandemic to further delay it into infinity. And yet they are already planning a second season, apparently. So I guess they're pretty confident that it will happen and it will do well enough. And one notable thing from the interview where they were discussing this was that the guy said he's looking forward to introducing people to Yoko Kanno, which is hopefully an implication that she will be doing the music, or they will be using some of her music from the original series, which I know for a lot of people, you can't really call it Cowboy Bebop without Yoko Kanno's music. So hopefully they're taking that to heart, especially since she hasn't composed music for an anime for the better part of a decade at this point.
That soundtrack is so good.
I hope they're like, we'd like to introduce everyone to Yoko Kanno, who our dubstep production is heavily inspired by.
Right, yeah. It's entirely possible.
Oh, God.
I don't know if you guys saw, but they released, I don't know if there's a name for this at this point, but basically a bunch of people in quarantine recording a song together from their houses. And it was all the members of the Seatbelts recording Tank, the Cowboy Bebop opening.
Oh yeah, I heard that was up, and I forgot to click on it to watch it.
Yeah, it's great, as you can imagine.
On the second season thing, I was reading somewhere back when The Witcher was just coming out, and then it also got renewed for a second season before the first one was even finished or released. And I guess it's not at all uncommon for Netflix to do that if they think the hype will be enough that they'll automatically just give you a second season regardless of any sort of real fan reaction. I guess they don't do it for all the shows, like the ones that they don't think will do well just by the demographic. but I guess they're just we'll give you a second season purely based on hype numbers alone. So it doesn't surprise me that they got renewed or what have you for a second season before first one is anywhere even close to being broadcast. Probably because Netflix is just banking on everyone will watch it even if they don't like it.
Yeah. It's just weird because we're in this state where there's no telling when they'll even be able to pick up production again. So it seems strange to be like, by the way, there's a second season coming, even though we have no idea when the first season will.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't even started like pre-production.
Yeah, I don't know what the state of John Cho is at this point. I feel like that was almost a year ago now.
Yeah, I wonder if they had been
ramping up production.
I wonder if they were back into production when everything shut back down again.
Right. Like I said, the curse.
It is the curse.
So speaking of things that will be subject to this very curse, Sony is allegedly developing a live-action One Punch Man film. They are apparently using the writers from Venom, which I heard was not very good, but was successful. But also, it doesn't matter, because anytime one of these live-action things is announced, the people that are with it at the beginning are never the people with it at the end. And the end is always 10 to 20 years later or never. So I'm not holding my breath that this will ever be a thing.
Especially since Sony can't even get their own damn Uncharted film off the goddamn ground, and that's like solely owned by Sony.
Oh, they can't? I didn't realize that.
They should just make Jason Statham Saitama and call it a day.
That would be hilarious.
It wouldn't be very different from any of his other movies. He's perfect.
I think he's a little too cool.
He's a little too manly. A little too cool. Can't really pop him in there like that.
You got to be a real loser for most of it for it to work.
That's true. Maybe they'll just get a loser guy, or they'll just digitally edit Jason Statham's face to look like a loser, and then they'll just bring it back. Like they could digitally de-age. I'm sure they could make you look like a loser.
Well, they what did they do to Captain America? They made him look like a skinny little twink. And
right, exactly. Yeah. They made him look like me.
Or what they did to Jason Momoa in that weird commercial.
Oh, they made him look like...
Yeah, where he takes his arm in, like, his arm muscles off, and then basically his entire core, so all of his abs and his pecs are just torn off in a really weird sequence.
Yeah, that commercial's fucking weird. All right,
it is. Yeah. It is. I'm glad it's not on the air anymore. At least I haven't seen it in a while.
That was one of those, who wants this? Who greenlit this?
But yeah, unless they do like just CG super basic Saitama face over Jason Statham's actual face, I don't think it's gonna really capture it. But that's just another one of those situations, like Cowboy Bebop, like Ghost in the Shell, like all of these. The source material in both forms, at least for the first season of the anime, just so perfectly utilizes that medium first of comic books and then of animation. What is the point of trying to replicate that in live action? I just don't get
it. I mean, at least One Punch Man is just basically a superhero movie.
Yeah, I could see that one being fine. I mean, they made all those Avengers movies and everyone loves those. So there's nothing that One Punch Man does that those movies haven't done in terms of like special effects and other things.
Yeah, but it's not about what can be accomplished with special effects. It's what is going to look so much better in artwork or animation. I just don't think it's going to be as impressive in live action with a bunch of CG. Because that's basically what it'll be. It'll be, you know, a bunch of special effects done with CG.
I mean, but that's anything nowadays, so...
Yeah, but I'm saying, what's the point? It's not
going to It's going to be another superhero movie, superhero comedy, because they've run out of other things they can adapt, so...
Yeah, maybe in 2045, when this has any chance of being made, superhero movies will be in the past anyway.
They'll be cool again. They'll complete that whole cycle.
I don't know. I don't know that there's ever been a live action adaptation of anime or manga that has one been good or two been successful.
I don't know. It's funny because I feel like in tone, One Punch Man is a lot closer to like Mystery Men than to like an Avengers movie. So
yeah, it's definitely not very similar to Avengers in tone.
Are we counting Edge of Tomorrow as an anime/manga adaptation? Because that movie fucking kicks ass.
It's not.
It's a light novel.
A manga was adapted from the novel after the movie was made, but it's just a Japanese novel, really.
Yeah, it was a light novel. I own a copy of it.
I
Hilariously,
I have the manga that I read.
Hilariously, in the novel, which does not end the way the movie does, the lead woman fighter comments that she had action figures made out of her, and they turned her into a busty blonde. And she's like a 5'4" like brunette with like super short hair in the books, and then they made an action figure out of her that was like blonde. And lo and behold, in the movie, she is blonde. So I just thought that was funny.
I think the Battle Angel Alita thing is pretty good. I don't know if that was very successful. Like,
I know it was not successful.
It wasn't successful enough for a sequel to get made, let's put it that way.
It made a profit, at least, according to the bare numbers. Like, I'm not digging into it here, but it had a budget of 170 million and its box office was 404.
Yeah, that's like break even, I think.
Yeah, so it didn't super tank. But I like that movie. Like, it's not super amazing or great, but I mean, it's probably one of the best ones that I could think of.
It was surprisingly faithful to the source material.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard is generally people think that it was the first remotely watchable live-action adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, its IMDb rating is pretty good, too, for what that's worth. It's 7.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 61%, which in this case is practically amazing.
It was pretty spot on to the source material.
Oh, 61% critics rating. That makes it even better, actually. The audience score is 92%, which is surprisingly high.
Yeah.
That's ridiculously high. Wow. Maybe I'll have to check that out. I never read the manga or watched the OVA or anything, but it sounds decent.
It definitely sounds like it's the best shot at a good adaptation, like universally,
so far.
good.
Yeah. It was weird watching that and then recognizing how much was just direct lifts from the manga. I was like, and coming away from that going, this is the most faithful anime movie to live action. How the hell did that happen? But
because James Cameron gets what he wants.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron.
Yeah.
So this says, some contend the film broke even by the end of its theatrical run. Others listed its losses as high as $53 million.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on what the studio expectations for it were and how much of the studio put their own money into that project. I don't think it was as much as... I think a lot of that money came from Cameron, so I can't imagine that they were too angry or upset about it. I just don't think they wanted to greenlight another...
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of fun ways to spin the math, both in good and bad ways. Depending on, like, whose money are you counting? Are you counting international and domestic? Are you counting streaming sales for people renting it or buying? Like, in terms of its total numbers, like, I'm sure you could bounce it a million different ways in a positive or a negative light. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it seems like it was pretty good. Essentially as close to perfect as an anime film adaptation has gotten so far.
Which is to say, at all watchable.
Well,
the only one that is at all watchable.
And it also comes down to, I mean, I like Alita a lot. I like the manga, but it is not the pinnacle of all manga. So, your mileage may vary on the source material.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. My piece of news. 3 light novels are coming to an end in relatively short order. Overlord, Konosuba, and Devil is a Part-Timer have all announced their final volumes. I don't know why this just happened to shake out the way it did, that all these things are ending. I don't know what Konosuba's final volume number is, but I think Overlord is going to be 17, and Devil is a Part-Timer is either 21 or 22, something like that. So
half of the isekai quartet.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's coincidental that they're all ending at the same time, essentially, or
it's
what?
Weird because it's not like they're not, at the same number of volumes or anything like that. It's just that it's probably just a weird coincidence, but I like The Devil is a Part-Timer a lot. I wish they would go, now that the series is ending, I wish they'd go back and animate more of it. It probably won't happen ever, but I wish it would.
Yeah, I'd guess at this point you're probably not getting another one.
Well, never say never, because anime tends to do that out of the blue.
Yeah, and you never know whose passion project it could turn into.
Yeah.
James Cameron.
James Cameron.
I don't know.
Live action Devil's a Part-Timer in 2036.
I don't know. So much of that is so... I don't want to say it's so Japanese. You could... I don't know.
Well, I feel like a lot of those anime that star like teenagers and stuff would probably be the hardest to really get a good adaptation out of. I don't know, because I guess just for me, because the teenagers in anime and manga are nowhere near like normal teenagers for the most part.
Yeah, so, the funny thing about Devil's Part-Timer is that the characters are actually relatively well grounded. I mean, the leads are basically working at the McDonald's franchise, and on their home planet they are like devils and angels and heroes, and there's magic and all that stuff, and so yeah, you have like, okay, you're gonna have to have special effects if you ever wanted to live action this, but the majority of the plot is just them dicking around doing sitcom-y, on Earth stuff. So,
and I believe you mean the Walk Donalds.
It's actually
McRonald's.
it's McRonald.
McRonald's.
McRonald's, which is like,
McRonald's.
How did you get that combination of letters? Okay.
I think Walk Donalds was the Prince of Tennis McDonald's variant, where they just took the golden arches and flipped them upside down.
That's the most common one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's not the only time Walk Donalds has been used.
But anyway, yeah, if you haven't watched The Devil's Part-Timer anime, you should do so. It was very good. And
These are all good series.
You should read the light novels because they have an excellent translation. So...
Yeah, I'd say Overlord is definitely one of my favorite light novel series. The anime for all three are good. I wouldn't say any of them are amazing, but they're all good. The Konosuba movie that just came out is very good. And as the writer of Pulp Fiction says, it is the reason cinema was invented.
So, yeah. All good things must come to an end.
Indeed. Is there any other news, or is there just the last one that kind of segues into our topic relatively conveniently?
Yeah, I mean, there's the general everyday, more series are indefinitely delayed, more everything, more events are canceled, etc. So it's just the constant.
Yeah, let's segue into the big event that just got canceled.
Yeah, which is Otakon. So Otakon 2020 has finally given up the ghost, and on April 27th, they announced that they were canceling, as well as announcing their dates for 2021. I guess the final nail in the coffin for Otakon, at least if you believe the press release, is when the Walter E. Washington Convention Center got turned into essentially a field hospital, so that they couldn't really get away around that. I mean, it was just a matter of time. I don't think there was ever any chance of them continuing, not to mention, at least I personally wouldn't have gone anyway. But I think this is probably, I think it was the last of the big ones, or maybe the last of any of them that are worth talking about. I remember getting all the emails from them about how there was still keeping a thumb on the pulse and how they were still planning on running it. And, me and my friends were like, there's just no way. There's no way. And yeah, finally they announced it. The new dates are August 6th through the 8th of 2021. So about a week after when this was supposed to be going on in 2020. They're always within that like last weekend of July, first weekend of August kind of deal. So it's sad. I am curious to see how Otakon handles it, just because they did very recently move into their brand new digs, the Washington Convention Center, and as Kestrel can also attest to, since he has been going as well, they've had a bit of a time trying to get people to actually go and fill up all this new space they have, because one of the major reasons they moved is they were running so much out of space in Baltimore that it was turning into just LineCon 24/7, 365. So I wonder if they'll do anything different or anything like that for 2021 to try and drum up people to go, especially to make up for this lost year. I don't really know. Kestrel, what do you think? Since you've also been going for, what is it? This would have been their third year in the new place, or fourth?
2017, so it would have been the fourth.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should probably acknowledge that much larger conventions have also canceled in the time since our last episode, like Anime Expo, San Diego Comic-Con. Otakon is just one of the many.
Yeah, there's nothing particularly special about it other than it happened 2 days ago, so it makes it convenient for this recording.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen to every convention this year, as it has so far. And Otakon might be at a safe enough size to be able to continue after this point. Some of the other ones probably will not be able to, so hopefully everything, as much as possible, can get refunded and everyone can continue on as well as possible.
Yeah, I think Otakon has already stated that if you purchased a registration already, that it'll be automatically good for 2021, and that you could also receive a refund if you so chose, as long as you submitted the request by the end of May. So anyone who's listening out there,
the conventions,
get your submission in if you choose to be refunded. And then also, luckily for myself, because I'm the one who always does it, and anyone else who does it, if you had made a reservation in the portal that they use, they were all auto canceled, so you don't have to go to any trouble to call the hotels or dig up your reservation information. Because I know me personally, I reserve the day that the hotel's open, and then I don't look at that fucking email for up until the week before we go. So I'd have to dig through my email to figure out what I need to search for to bring it back up. But at least they're being generous about that portion. I know there's some other places that haven't been, like Ticketmaster and shit. So
yeah, I know when Anime Expo was pretending that it was still going to happen for weeks leading up to its cancellation announcement, which was in the past couple weeks, they were saying, like, given the circumstances, we're going to reduce the cancellation fees we're charging for hotels made through our blog.
That's
and
such
like,
bullshit.
Fuck you, asshole. Your fucking convention center is a hospital. Don't pretend that you're going to have a convention in a few months. So hopefully, I think my friends who had their Anime Expo stuff all registered have had it all refunded now, or probably rolled it over for the actual registration, because it tends to increase in price, especially for the Premier Fan Badge from year to year. So at least this way they get to keep the probably lesser price that it was this year.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the extra PTO and money that I'm saving.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 1.5 week trip to Hawaii and a 2-week trip to Japan planned for this year. So, and plus now they just combined the sick time. with vacation time, so I have all that extra time. And then I hit my 5-year mark in like a month, and then I start accruing an extra week of time every year.
Oh man, I
So
remember
I'm gonna
that.
have a shitload to use.
You're
I
just gonna
was
have to
just
start
shy
taking
of
off
that.
every single Friday.
Yeah, probably.
Being like, fuck this, fuck y'all.
Or like the month of December.
That's not a bad idea either. Celebrate
Oh.
Christmas fucking big boss style. Don't do shit that
Just-
whole month.
Yeah, binging anime.
Oh, I remember vacation accrued time.
Don't you have vacation time all the time now?
It's not a vacation if it's your life.
Yeah, I have to, like, I never took a ton of time off for conventions. I would take a day and a half or 2 days, depending on what the plan was. So it's not like I'm going to be swimming in PTO, but, you know, just like you and countless other people, you know, around the world, Emily and I had, you know, a vacation, our first vacation planned, and technically we still have the hotel, but I don't think there's any shot that we're going to be able to actually go. It's more in September, but
Yeah, my Japan trip is August.
yeah, but at this point, you know, who knows? And we would go to Pittsburgh every year over Labor Day weekend, and that's been canceled as well. So, yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. So at least use the PTO and refunds for maybe doing other fun shit or buying cool stuff or whatever. Who knows? Use your government money to buy cool shit. Buy like a 80-inch OLED TV and mount it on your ceiling.
Why your ceiling?
Well, you already have one on the wall, so then you can mount one on the
You
ceiling.
mean me specifically?
Yes, and if you get a headache or your neck starts to hurt from looking straight forward, you can lean your head back on the couch and just look up at your ceiling.
See, the problem is I want to spend all this extra money on a sweet new sound system, but I need you to come over to set it all up, and you can't do that now.
That's true, unless I would just start driving and then wouldn't stop for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, but you'd probably get, like, arrested or something.
No way, man. I'd just tell everyone it was an emergency. That's how I would get over it. Were you able to get, like, refunds and stuff for your Hawaii trip and things?
Well, when I had to cancel the Hawaii trip, which was within a week of when it was supposed to be, airlines were not actually refunding you yet. They were only giving you credit for use in the next year. I think now they've been forced to actually refund you because that's fucking bullshit.
Yes.
But the whole reservation is already canceled. So I guess if I want to try like calling up customer support and being on hold for hours, then maybe I can actually get cash from that. But as it stands, it's still a credit that I probably won't be able to use for right now. So I'll have to figure that out as it gets closer to the deadline and see how likely that is. The Japan trip, I haven't canceled anything yet, so I should be able to do that and get fully refunded.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah.
That is good at least. Well, speaking of all this bad stuff about, you know, the coronavirus and everyone being cooped up in their homes and going slowly mad or very quickly mad, depending on what kind of personality you have. The topic that we're going for this week, and I think it's a good one, are shows and manga and maybe just generally some other maybe anime-centric or things like that, properties that you could watch while you're at home that you may not have a chance to watch otherwise because of their length or you know, how many, you know, well, basically their length, essentially, like they're epic in how long it takes to watch. But now that you've got nothing else to do, you might as well watch them, especially because a lot of them are really good as long as you can dedicate the time to reading or watching. So if not now, when? And I think we have a plethora to choose from, some maybe more obvious than others as we think about them. If anyone doesn't mind, I think I know what the first one we should talk about is, especially because Kestrel likes this show a lot and has actually watched it. I haven't, but I think I'm going to start now that I'm all caught up on the non-existent season that we're having. And I was going to say that's Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Aw, yeah.
Because I believe this is 178 episodes at least, right? Something.
It's 110 of the main series.
Okay, and then there's some movies and shit too, right?
Yeah, there's some movies and a few side story OVA series.
Yeah, so for those out there who may not be familiar with this series, we are not talking about the new one. We are talking about the old school, badass, top 10 anime of all time, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, incredible space opera, lots of cool spaceship battles and stuff. I mean, I'm sure Kestrel can tell you more about it, so I'm going to give the mic over to him in a second. But, I mean, if you love space opera shit and this show's length was a little scary, I think now's the time to really take advantage and watch what's considered a classic, like all-time classic. So yeah, Kestrel, speak about it since you own the super cool Blu-ray set from Funimation that they're still trying to sell.
Sentai.
Oh, so yeah, so for Sentai that they're still trying to sell for full MSRP.
I always love when they have a sale and they just list it on there, and they have the MSRP of $799.98 crossed out, and your price of $799.98.
Yeah, every single fucking time.
You save $0.00.
0% off. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so if you would like to watch it, then you can either pay $800 for the single greatest home video release of all time, or you can watch it on High Dive, or I guess now Verve, since High Dive is on Verve. Yeah, it's I'd say if you're looking for flashy space battles, then that's kind of not the point. For one thing, it doesn't look that flashy. It started in the 80s, and it's not like a super high production quality at any point. But it is beautiful if you like film anime aesthetics and space imagery. But the real draw is the politics and the strategy and tactics of warfare. So it has a lot of the same elements of like Game of Thrones or Kingdom, which is a great manga series that is now delayed in its anime adaptation this season. A lot of series like that. Arslan is by the same creator, so it's very similar to that. A lot of these series have kind of a medieval feel, and this takes a lot of elements of, you know, your Star Wars, Star Trek type stories and combines that with the classic medieval warfare strategy and tactic kind of shows and movies and novels. And yeah, it's very much about the politics, about the characters, two very ambitious generals who basically spend the entire series playing psychological warfare within their armies. Yeah, it's an illustration of how bad imperialism is and how bad democracy can be when it becomes corrupt enough. And so it basically shows you that all systems are inevitably terrible once people get greedy and take power, but that there will be individuals in any institution that have the right things in mind and will work from within to try to better their societies. So it's very deep, very complex, extremely well written. Yeah, it's a brilliant study of society, warfare, and character.
Yeah, I love the aesthetic of it, but then I've always been a fan of that late 80s, early 90s anime aesthetic, like the way that the characters are drawn. So obviously this was made in the late 80s, as Kestrel said, so you do have to be okay with that. I know that there are people out there, some that we know pretty well, that don't particularly like anime anytime it feels before the year 2005 or so.
Yeah, basically before it was digital.
Yeah, before it was digital, so be aware of that. It's going to have the same imperfections and things that like Gundam has had. But I've always liked that aesthetic, and I've always liked the kind of extra character that adds. They also wear sweet, badass capes, which is very dope.
Space capes.
Design,
yeah, space capes. Well, they're like classic King red velvet capes too. It's not just like a thin black sheet. It's like very luxurious on some of these dudes.
It's like I don't know, Renaissance era politics in the year, I forget how many years it is in the future, but
2010
a very far time in the future. Yeah, right.
Space feudalism.
Right. Yeah. And then, they mix in some Nazi Germany in there as well. And, it goes to show how brilliantly written it is and how cyclical the world is, because this was being written in the early 80s, anime adaptation released in the late 80s, and right from the beginning, you'll hear some lines and see some scenarios and think, wow, this was really talking about the year fucking 2020, wasn't it, in American politics?
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll see a lot of Nazi Germany in the Empire and a lot of modern America in the democracy. Not in good ways ever.
Is it hard to follow?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You pay very close attention. There are, I think, 300 to 400 named characters.
Woo.
Yep. So yeah, I guess it has that in common with Game of Thrones as well. So there is a lot to follow in terms of the characters, the societies, the positions, and everything that goes into that. So if you do happen to spend $800 on a series you've never seen before, it comes with a book that not only has an episode summary for every episode, but a complete timeline of major events for the series. So that's really helpful as well.
Cliff notes.
Yeah, basically.
You also get coins.
You do get coins, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the Sentai site now, and I also loved how it obviously started out this way, but there's still the low stock indicator to make you be like, you better get them, they're going fast.
Yeah, does it say how many of these they're making? I forget how many they said. It was only like 1,000 or something.
Reading it now, I'm not seeing any indication.
I believe it was 1,000.
Yeah, I'm sure they weren't like really pushing these out.
It has a special plaque on it. Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know what happened with their negotiations. I feel like they could not have planned this to be the case when they first licensed the series, but they put all of this incredible amount of work in it. And as of now, over 2 years after they announced it, almost 2 years since they released it, they're still saying, we're not releasing a standard edition, at least until this one sells out, which who knows if that'll ever happen.
Yeah, good fucking luck.
Yeah, but, they only printed 1,000, so I don't know how many they've sold. I don't know how many people are willing to spend $800 on something like that. Clearly not 1,000, at least very quickly. But the fact that for all they had to license and all the work they had to put in for all this content and just everything involved with it, they're only making, $800K. I don't know if that's a very smart business model. So I feel like negotiations changed at some point after they had initially licensed it, and they were limited to doing this, at least for the time being, and they're probably losing money on it.
This reminds me of the Blu-ray release for Star Trek Next Generation, in a way, in that there was lots and lots of work put in to track down the film and to transfer the film to a 1080p resolution. I don't know a whole lot about that process, so I'm probably going to butcher it in my explanation, but I read an article, and there's, you know, a little mini documentary. It's basically just that CBS, when they originally recorded Next Gen, they recorded it straight to broadcast quality VHS. So,
well, it was a little different than that. It's like the main footage was shot on film, which is good.
Yeah.
And then all of the effects were composited in video.
Oh.
So, and it was cropped to 4:3. So they had to go back for the Blu-ray quality high def versions, rescan all the film, which is good, crop it, and redo all the visual effects shots.
Yeah, and they also had to put in a lot of work to find the film because they didn't have it all, and they didn't know where it was. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, it existed. Yeah, they just didn't know where it was for a lot of it. Like, it took a long time for them to track it down, according to the little booklet that I was reading that came with the set. They were like, yeah, this took years, you know, partially due to the fact that we couldn't fucking find it. But yeah, that a lot of work went into it, and they didn't really sell very well.
No, which is unfortunate because that means, you know, it didn't sell very well. But it's great because now it's out there forever. And it will always look great now because they put the work into it. They went back and put the work into the original Star Trek series too. And at least they threw that up onto broadcast TV, so I got to see at least some of that. And the restoration they did, and they took the old Star Trek, re-edited it, and redid the effects shot so they were at least next-gen level, which was amazing because it suddenly made the original Star Trek like 100% more watchable.
Yeah, it looks like fucking ass. I bought Emily the Star Trek, the nicest original set that they had.
Yeah.
Because that's her favorite, and you can choose to watch the episodes in the original or the redone. And man, those originals look like fucking shit compared to the redone visuals and everything, especially anytime the Enterprise is on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and I hope that they do release a regular set, because I would like to own it of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, but if they're banking on people buying this $800 set to do so, we're going to have the same situation where people want a Blu-ray of Star Trek DS9, but they're never going to get it because they're going to have to do the same thing to DS9 that they did to Next Gen.
I wonder if DS9 was shot on video straight. I hope not, but I have a feeling it might have been.
I know that it's estimated that it would take the same amount of work, if not more, to get that ready, which sucks because I think DS9's the best of the shows, and I would love to own it on Blu-ray, but right now, yeah, you're buying it on DVD or you're watching it on their All Access. The only way you can see like HD footage is through the documentary that was released recently, where they redid some of the scenes in HD, and on the original Star Trek Blu-rays that I bought for Emily, one of the episodes that was a DS9 episode that took place within a Star Trek episode, they redid that in HD. There was one episode, but yeah, I'm just hoping that either they change their minds and release a normal Legend of the Galactic Heroes set, or there's something else, because I mean, I'm never going to pay $800 for this.
Yeah, I mean, if it's more than $20, you won't buy it.
Yeah, let alone $800. I mean, I would pay more than 20 for this just because of the sheer breadth of material.
Yeah, and like, it's not a normal thing to release in one set in any context. Normally, they would release 4 sets for the series, 1 for the side stories, and 1 for the movies. So 6 sets total, and those could be reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Everything about this is a total anomaly, and literally my dream release.
How does it look? How does the transfers and everything look on, I guess it says here 1080i, compared to what I'm assuming would be the original, like 240 or something? 240? I can't remember what broadcast TV is. I know it was 480p, but before that I think it was essentially 240.
And remember, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is by far the longest OVA series, which means it never ran on TV. But it was released on, VHS back in the 80s to 90s. So yeah, I would guess somewhere around 240. Yeah, it looks like it was made in that time period on relatively low production value to be released on home video and not in theaters. But given that, I think it's a really nice transfer. I don't think Sentai had to do anything about that because there was already Japanese releases of the Blu-rays. For Sentai, their big amount of work that they invested years into, and who knows how many man hours, was just they had to translate 162 episodes and 3 movies from scratch, because this was also the first time that any of this has ever been legally available in English. So it's the first official translation any of it has ever had. And yeah, there's just so much dialogue, so many characters, places, concepts to keep track of, keep consistent. And yeah, very wordy. And, you know, all the work they put into the set, obviously, but, you know, that's ostensibly covered by its high price tag.
Right.
But even then, you know, I guess 1,000 was maybe a good number because they haven't sold it yet and it's been years. But they are certainly going to hope they can release it in some other form at some point to make back some of that money.
I have answers. DS9 was shot on film and its effects were digital, just like Next Gen. So, this is what my research has told me. Also, NTSC was 486 scan lines at 29.97 frames per second. And that, because that 0.3 was where the color signal was embedded. Because technology was fun in analog land.
Yeah, so that 486 scan lines, would that be 480p? I don't know how that math works.
It's
hard to convert from analog to digital.
Yeah, it's hard to convert that because a scan line does not equal pixel, because CRTs did not use pixels. They used laser. Well, not lasers, but yeah, it's complicated. That doesn't
the concept
quite
of a pixel doesn't really
exist.
Apply. Yeah, that's why, you know, it's good when stuff is film, because you can scan it at whatever resolution you want. So it's scanned at 1080. There's some stuff in there that was like digitally redone for later releases, I think. So you can kind of tell when some of the frames look a little bit more computerized. So that's slightly distracting, but I still think the overall product looks really nice. And especially just, you know, seeing the vast expanses of space and the designs of the ships and other mechanical objects, where you can, you know, see all the hand-drawn line work that's really lost in like the remake and stuff.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a great one to go out and watch. Yeah, I really think I'm going to start it here, especially now that I'm almost done binging Mythbusters.
Man, you were just knocking down my top anime, aren't you?
I mean, this is one that I've always wanted to watch just because I enjoy political shows in general. And this is also in space, which is baller as hell. So kind of it checks a couple boxes.
If you like politics, space operas, and 80s to 90s anime aesthetic, then I can't imagine a better recommendation.
Indeed. So that's one down. Kate, can you think of anything? I know that I'm sure there's some manga out there that now would be a great time to fucking tackle.
First off, if you have all the time in the world to kill and want something to watch, may I preach to you about the good word of our Lord and Savior, One Piece?
Hey, was not expecting that from you.
One Piece has how many episodes now? 900 and some.
Yeah, 900 and something.
Something.
A lot.
Anyway, I only bring this back up because Funimation has started releasing the dub again. Although right now I think it's pay only. Maybe I have to check Amazon Prime. but it might be purchased. But I mean, the first set of dubbed episodes all the way up to Punk Hazard are out there and available. So if you only watch dubs, that's there. The Funimation dub is good, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, they finally started releasing the Punk Hazard dub. Last fall, they had announced that they were getting back into dubbing One Piece. So, yeah, interesting. I want to see how they handle Punk Hazard, because I wasn't too impressed with the way the Japanese voice acting decided to just have the characters speaking in... It didn't make any sense, because in the show
that was dumb.
That was
but
dumb.
They're gonna stick to what the Japanese did, unfortunately.
Are you sure about that?
There's no way they're not.
I mean, maybe they are. I want to know. I want to know what they decided to do. I hope they did the smart thing that makes sense. Because in Japanese it didn't make any sense. Because they made it seem like the characters were speaking with the characters' bodies' voices, and that's not what was going on at all. And I want to hear the characters pretend to be other characters in the character voices, because that'd be amazing. Anywho.
So where does the dub sit then in terms of episode number compared to where the Japanese version?
It's like 575. So they haven't released any of the dub for 2 years, and they started it, 8 years after the anime started, 9 years. And they've had gaps like this of a year to 2 years, 2 or 3 times since they've started it. So they are so far behind. These are episodes from 2012 that they're finally getting around to releasing now. So they are not that far past halfway through what's out in Japanese, unfortunately.
Ow. Is that just because of logistics and things?
Nobody really knows why this 2-year gap happened. It seemed like it would probably be because this is when the Blu-ray started in Japan and they had to negotiate those rights. But it's still DVD only in America, so I have no idea.
I think it was...
We'll never know.
It was probably a matter of Zots and where the money was going, and the schedules, because One Piece, speaking of characters, basically, One Piece is all hands on deck for how many voice actors are involved in that project. Basically, anybody who is in the American anime dub industry has had a role in One Piece at some given time. So I think it was just a matter of they had to wait for it to be worth their while to do it. And they probably had to wait. They were probably waiting for a certain sales number before they started producing more of it. That's my only guess.
It doesn't make any sense to me. They've been releasing One Piece for 12, 13 years. They should know what One Piece is and how well it does by now.
I mean, and then there was the whole merger thing. Maybe they had to wait till that shit shook out.
But, nothing else was affected. Everything else was business as usual. They dubbed 100 other series in the meantime.
Yeah.
Nothing affected Dragon Ball. It was just One Piece.
Well, Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball. I imagine One Piece sells a lot less than Dragon Ball here. By a lot.
Yeah, but I'm sure it sells more than dozens of series that they dubbed in that time.
Oh, I'm sure. But, yeah, who knows? They never talk about it. They were just, like, woo, we're back at this, whatever.
Yeah, they announced that they're back as if there was any reason for them to not be doing it for a year and a half. And then another half year lapsed without a single word about anything. And then it comes back no different than it did before, not in HD or anything.
Yeah, but it's like, once again, this is the third time they've stopped production and restarted production on this. So...
Yeah, it's never been this long, though, and it's been a long, long time since it's happened at all. I think, actually, the only other time was between seasons, as they call it, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Which was, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that was because it stopped getting broadcast on TV around that time.
Yeah. Yeah, it made sense for that.
Yeah, so you said there's about 575-ish episodes of the dub available?
Yeah, I think something like that is where they stopped off.
All right, so
And then I think it'll be up to 600 by the time the next couple DVDs are released, because they already have 2 more scheduled.
all right, so that means that if you wanted to watch all those, rough math, that's 190 hours of anime.
So how many continuous days is that?
Well, 191 divided by 24, almost 8 days.
Nice. So just over a week of no eating, no sleeping, nothing but watching one.
No bathroom breaks.
No
bathroom breaks, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, I will say, if you want to get into One Piece, totally. If you want to experience One Piece in a much better form, a lot more quickly, read the manga.
It's up on the Shonen Jump.
Yes, you for $1.99, you can read, I guess, all of it in 10 days, because it caps you at 100 chapters a day. But yeah, you can read it all for $2 a month, however long it takes you.
Yeah, not to shill for them, but I think that's going to be one of your best deals in terms of like time investment right now if you're looking for stuff to do. That's anime manga related. Yeah, $2 a month, 100 chapters a day. The Shonen Jump app. I mean, it's great. I've had it for months, and some months I won't even read anything because I'll be watching stuff. But then if I just go in and read like all of Rurouni Kenshin or all of Assassination Classroom, I feel like I got my money's worth for the next couple months again, because that means I read a whole series for $2.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever really use mine, because the first and last, or most recent, 3 chapters of every series are always free, and I'm always caught up on stuff, and I haven't really gone back and binged stuff for the most part. So I don't know that I've actually used it since they switched to this format, but I haven't canceled it because it's just like $2 a month. Maybe I'll want it at some point. I just want to give them that money because it's such a good deal. They deserve it.
Yeah.
It's also the easiest way to say you're supporting the industry without putting any effort in whatsoever.
Yep. It's like, if you're one of those people that are like, piracy is so easy, it's like, no, dude, this is so damn cheap.
Oh.
You can go read all of One Punch Man. You can go read all of One Piece, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer.
Dragon Ball Z in color, like everything in color that's been released. And the original, so you can pick up from there. But yeah, all of Dragon Ball Z.
It's like they've got Dr. Stone up there, a million new series that are really, really, really new. Yeah.
Basically every Shonen Jump series that's been published in English.
Yeah, they started to put JoJo's up too last time I looked. For a while it wasn't available at all, but now they're putting that up too.
Yep. Phantom Blood, Battle Tendency and Stardust Crusaders are up. So
yeah. Oh, my fucking friend last night was talking about how he's pirating Kaguya-sama because it's on Funimation instead of Crunchyroll. And this motherfucker spends thousands of dollars per figure on figures, and thousands of dollars left and right, every which way, on everything anime, manga, video game related he can possibly find. And he refuses to spend $8 to watch the actual anime. He'll just steal it instead.
Jesus Christ.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
That's a weird set of priorities.
Like dozens of thousands of dollars back from not going to conventions this year because he spends thousands of dollars at every convention he goes to, and goes to conventions like at least one a month. Fuck is wrong with people?
That's a weird set of priorities.
Yeah. It took years of bullying to get him to finally get a Crunchyroll membership.
Years of emotional and physical abuse.
So now I'm trying it with Funimation. It's just a fucking brick wall. It's infuriating.
That's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you take nothing out of this episode, people who are listening, other than like just this one thing, it's get that app and pay that $2 because it supports the industry for once. You can pat yourself on the back and feel good about yourself. And 2, it's an insane amount of content. Just an absolutely ridiculous amount of content for that $2. I can't think of a single better deal just in general. Like, not even anime or manga, but like for a monthly subscription service of some type.
Yeah, totally.
For content, it doesn't get any better than this.
I mean, I guess Crunchyroll for $5 a month, they have no limit. So technically you could just watch anime 24/7 and you'd probably get more than your 100 chapters a day several times over. Because you can read 100 chapters of some series in, not a full day, a few hours. But
Crunchyroll's $8 a month now, isn't it?
I think if you get it annually, it's still $60 for a year.
I didn't even know they charged annually.
Yeah, I always get mine annually. I get the Premium Plus one, which I don't use any of the extra stuff, just because, again, I just want to give them more money. Because they do good shit.
You could be spending that money on figures. What do you do? What are you doing with your life?
Some very violent arg noise.
If you take anything away from this episode, it's stop fucking stealing art, you piece of shit.
I am 100% behind that sentiment. Fucking hell, man.
So you guys would both wholeheartedly recommend getting into One Piece at this point?
Yeah, totally.
There's never been a better time to get into One Piece.
That's true.
Literally. That's
definitely true.
And the manga is absolutely one of the greatest manga of all time. I'd say it is the best Shonen Jump manga of all time, easily. And the anime is a far cry from the manga, and it's the pacing's a little rough at sometimes, especially compared to the manga.
Pacing for the first 300 episodes was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it went to shit for very, very, very ever.
Yeah, basically. But even given that, for what it is, it's still, the best of its kind of a infinitely running anime series. It's definitely the best one out there. So yeah, wholeheartedly recommend both. If you're fine with manga, definitely prioritize manga.
It's certainly easier to catch up with manga. Cheaper and time-wise.
Yeah, and as good as the anime is, the manga is better in every way.
Indeed. So that gives us Legend of the Galactic Heroes and then One Piece, which are two stellar recommendations, I would say. Great places to start. Kestrel, are there any that you can think of off the top of your head that aren't those two that you could recommend at this point in time? Or, even if they're not anime or manga, maybe something else that's even tangentially related, since we are no strangers of doing that around here either.
I mean, I will briefly mention that in this time, not that it's that different from my normal day-to-day life, but given the lack of other content out there, I have been able to get through a lot more other material. Like, I normally don't get time to play video games, or don't give myself the time, but I'm, working my way through Final Fantasy VII Remake at an okay pace, probably a lot slower than most people. But at least I am regularly playing it, which is more than I can say for most video games I get. And lots of TV series, long ones that I've gotten through in the past few months have been Game of Thrones and The Wire, which took me less than a month for The Wire, including all the extras and commentaries. So that was good. As far as relevant stuff, I guess Final Fantasy is kind of relevant. But I don't know what the cutoff is for a lot of people of like, normally I wouldn't watch something or read something this long, but I will given these circumstances. But I guess, if Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is too long for you normally, it's an excellent time to watch that. It's only 64 episodes. And if you're trying to catch up to the end of the 10th anniversary, then You can basically watch an episode a day from this point, and you'll get there. And for some longer stuff, so over 100 episodes, speaking of Shonen Jump series, the best thing to ever come out of anything Shonen Jump related is my third favorite anime of all time, and that is the 2011 Madhouse adaptation of Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah. So that's 148 episodes, technically incomplete because the manga is still, quote, running. At least everything else is on the same schedule of indefinite hiatus that Hunter x Hunter exists on. But as I explained in the top of the 2010s episode, it's basically a perfect stopping point. And if Hunter x Hunter ever gets to any ending at any point, maybe it'll be a marginally more appropriate ending than this. But as it stands, this is about the best possible ending you could hope for a series that is technically not complete. So yeah, it's 148 episodes. I talked about a lot of this on our top anime of the 2010s episode, but it's basically the beyond perfect adaptation of a long-running shonen manga, because it started 13 years after the manga started. They had all this material to just adapt at the perfect pace, so it doesn't have any of the pacing problems of any other Shonen Jump adaptations. The production values are impossibly good for a series that ran for 3 continuous years. Even more impossible is that they get better as it goes on. Even more impossible is that Shueisha, the main sponsor, dropped their spot on the production committee, which was a huge amount of budget for the series, once they got to the really dark material, and refused to compromise and switch to a much less watched time slot. Despite all that, the quality just kept increasing. The music is some of the best in anime. My favorite composer, Yoshihisa Hirano, who did the music for Death Note and the later seasons of Hajime no Ippo. It's just the perfect storm of all of these things that it doesn't seem like should ever be able to come together like this. It doesn't seem like it should have the funds. It doesn't seem like it should have the audience. It doesn't seem like it should have the people to be able to support it for this long without taking a break, and just be so perfect and getting better and better all the way through. And at its core, it's a really well-written story from a guy who's a very strong writer and not as strong of an artist. So everything about the adaptation just polishing up his work so much benefits it to just give you a perfect package for the best long-running Shonen Jump type series.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about how good it looks, especially compared to some of the stills I've seen from the manga.
Mm-hmm.
And how well it cleans up. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So well animated, such beautiful color design throughout the whole thing. Even in its simplicity for some of the designs, it just makes it all look so beautiful. There's such a great eye for what makes that aesthetic work and makes it pop. It's the kind of treatment I wish I could get for One Piece or Dragon Ball or any of those series.
And I'm going to add this in there. Hunter x Hunter is not your typical shonen series by a long shot. It starts off that way. It wants you to think it is.
Right. It lulls you into a false sense of security.
And then it's like, bam, bam, bam. Do you want world building? Holy shit. The world building in that series is insane. Everything about that series is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the power of friendship ain't getting you shit in this show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it gets incredibly dark. It just completely subverts all conventions of shonen manga that it appears to be following at the beginning. The Chimera Ant arc, which is the highlight of the series, when it gets so dark, and about half of the anime adaptation just breaks every rule of a shonen action manga arc. Absolutely nothing that you would think is an essential for that kind of arc and that kind of series happens in a remotely similar way to anything you've seen. It's just, an incredibly original, inventive story. And I rewatched the last 2 quarters of it when the final Blu-ray was released a few months ago. And the whole time I was just like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe this exists. This just is so different from anything you'd expect it to be. So good.
It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even mind the parts where people said that it kind of dips in quality a little bit too, like some of the arcs. I was like, this whole thing is pretty fucking dope.
Yeah, I guess Greed Island probably.
That's the one. Yeah.
That was the only thing I'm thinking of. I'm like, Greed Island? Yeah.
Because not only is it this weird isekai card based storyline, but it comes right after the first arc of the series that is like mind-blowingly amazing. So I can see how that could dampen some enthusiasm, but don't you worry, you'll get half the series dedicated to a fucking masterpiece of an arc right after it.
Oh, I gotta.
Now, Kate, as someone who doesn't watch anime, have you watched any of this adaptation?
No, but I have read all of the manga and past where the show stops, so I have not seen the adaptation. No, I've been meaning to. I was waiting for it to all come out on disc.
It's all out.
Yeah, but I am also now unemployed, so I'm not supposed to be spending money on cool shit. So, yeah.
Well,
I've worked myself into a catch-22.
Yeah, it's streaming in lots of places.
I should just do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were in the market for buying the discs, I would totally recommend the dub. I think it is a perfect dub. It's brilliant throughout. But the Japanese version's great too. I watched it all as it aired, and I loved those performances. And you get to hear the late Keiichi Fujiwara in one of his longest, most prominent, finest performances throughout that.
I think it also has anime's biggest hair.
Yeah,
or at least a contender, right. A very strong contender.
Yes,
it gets quite large.
I remember seeing a guy cosplaying that version of Gone one time.
That is awesome.
And I think the hair was just like modeling foam with a dowel rod down through it.
It's like a reverse stilt. You just put a stilt on your head.
It was cool as hell. Now, it's also important to note, I think, that this show also has an older adaptation too. Correct. Yep. So
which is also very good.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you already mentioned it, but yeah, it's important to note just because you might, find the older one instead of the newer one if you're not looking hard enough. But yeah, they're both good.
See, they're both good, but I can confidently say you will not accidentally stumble across the older version because it has never been streaming anywhere, and I've been trying to collect the DVD releases of it for like 5 years, and I still can't get a hold of the last one.
Wow.
They are so far out of print.
Wow, it's kind of like how JoJo's is another one that has a 90s and a newer one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, a very similar situation. Hunter x Hunter is a really great choice. I didn't even think about that one. Yeah, all these have been really good so far, but I think Hunter x Hunter might be my number one at this point, also because it's the only one I watched. But that doesn't mean as much as the fact that it is just so incredibly good and breaks the mold for a lot of shonen stuff. So it's not all bubblegummy and stuff like that. So you can get your hard edge on your violence and your anime shit. So yeah, definitely go out and find that one and watch it. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, for series over 100 episodes, which I feel like is a big cutoff point for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people just won't consider that. I think this is the best. And there are a lot of really great long series, both in anime and manga and TV shows, that are some of the best, but they're hard to sell because of their length. So I think, yeah, given that, it's a great opportunity to recommend a lot of those, and that's the top of my list for anime anyway.
Indeed. If you don't mind, I think I'm actually going to swing it in the entirely opposite direction now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Scared.
These are stressful. No, you guys will like this one. These are stressful times, and as you guys know, I'm a heavy proponent of Iyashikei anime just in general. But now, especially since we're getting the Blu-rays finally, I think it's a great time to watch Aria if you haven't watched Aria.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we are getting that really nice manga set. Slowly but surely, I think. I don't know how many we have over here at this point.
Looks like 5 are on my shelf, and I think I have volume 6 on order.
But Aria, I think, is a great show for this particular situation because it's nice and relaxing. You're basically following, for people who haven't seen it or heard of the properties in any way, you're basically just watching a bunch of cute girls trying to become, like, I don't know what the proper term is, but like gondola pilots in space Italy.
Gondoliers.
Gondoliers,
Yeah.
Thank you. They're trying to become gondoliers in what is essentially space Italy. So it's like it's a very light sci-fi show, but it's a sci-fi Iyashikei. You just watch them kind of learn how to do their jobs, talk to tourists and explore this, essentially what I guess must have been a perfectly terraformed version of Venice. And it is, I think, 50 in the 50s for episodes. I think it has Aria.
It's 4 cores.
Yeah, it's Aria the Aria the animation, Aria the natural, and then Aria the origination, and then some OVAs.
Yeah, it's got a really screwed up naming convention.
Yeah, so that could be a little bit confusing, but it is available on Crunchyroll and VRV, all of it, in terms of the show. I don't know if the OVAs are, but the show is there. It's super relaxing. It looks great. I would definitely recommend this, probably above any of the other Iyashikeis. I mean, there's countless ones I could recommend to make you relax at this point, but Aria's one is my favorite, I think, and definitely one that I would recommend. You also get some weird-looking cats.
Yes, Mars cats.
Yeah, you get Mars cats, which are very interesting to look at. But yeah, I think Aria would be great because it's also kind of a lot of episodes, and like Kate said, it's weird to figure out how you're supposed to watch them, because when I started watching it, I didn't watch it in the correct order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I just, I think I was watching it somewhere that wasn't Crunchyroll, and I started watching the natural first.
Interesting.
Well, because the way it is, you could, I'd felt like, oh, we're just kind of jumping in the middle of it. No big deal. Whatever.
And weirdly, they do kind of jump in at the middle of it because when the show starts, she's already a single, I think. And there was the Aqua manga started when she was a double. So, yeah, that's confusing.
Yeah, so, I mean, I eventually changed back over, but yeah, I did start watching the wrong season first. But I think I talked about this anime when I had my Iyashikei panel, the last time I did a panel at Otakon, and a lot of people seem to be really into it. So for some reason, it feels like it still doesn't have a lot of attention as an Iyashikei show, even though it had from what I understand, a very successful Kickstarter to get it on Blu-ray, and now it's getting the normal releases as well. And of course, like I said, you could watch it on VRV, but if you just want to melt into your couch for a while and just, relax, this is definitely the one to do it for you.
Yeah, I'd say Aria, the origination, is easily my favorite Iyashikei anime. And this is another one where the last Kickstarter volume of the origination just came out a few months ago, and so I rewatched that with a new dub and everything. And yeah, the first couple seasons and the OVAs and stuff, that's all real top tier Iyashikei, it's a little older. It's 2005, so it's early digital.
It's right on the edge of DJ's tolerance levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look quite as polished as new stuff. It's 4.3 until the origination. But it's still very high quality Iyashike. But then once you get to the origination, that was another one where I rewatched that and I was like, God damn, this is good. I guess it's not really what you're looking for Iyashike specifically, but the plot progression and character development and just emotional resonance of origination is just miles beyond everything else in the series. There are some really poignant moments in that, and I think the whole thing is just a brilliant final season to that. And it's in 16:9 for that season, I believe, and native HD, so it looks really nice and looks a lot closer to modern anime as well. Also, you're not going to be traveling to real Venice anytime soon, so you get to travel to anime Venice.
In space.
And technically on Mars, which doesn't matter at all because it's just Venice.
Yeah, they don't even really bother to ever talk about the fact that they're on another planet, except when when a visitor comes.
Or whenever they talk about Earth and they call it Manhome.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just Earth. I'm like, why aren't you still calling it Earth? Earth is so much easier to say than Manhome. What are you doing?
I feel like that's a regular thing where series like rename Earth. Because I think this has been the case in a few series, but Legend of the Galactic Heroes, for one, is always referred to as Terra.
Yeah, Terra.
Terra's a pretty bog standard one.
Terra and the Sun is Soul. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a more common one, but I don't know why that's a thing. Like, you gotta rename Earth.
Maybe someone owns the copyright.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the fact that the year is twice as long is something that comes up once in a while because it like lends to the slow pace of everything. You get to take everything in more gradually because the seasons last twice as long as
that's the only time you ever hear them mention anything that's really specific to their location is because they're like, this is my second year on it, which means she's really been there for 2 years. So
yeah,
that I know that kind of swings way out of the way of what we've been talking about, but yeah, a good Iyashike is good at all times, but I think especially right now it could be extra good for a lot of people who need some nice relaxation on Mars Venice, the Menace. So that's Kate, do you want to swing it back to you if you have anything else?
What's good?
There's plenty out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna toss in a video game recommendation. I've been playing Trials of Mana.
The new one?
The new old one, yes. It is a remake of a game that came out like 25 years ago now or something. It is a Seiken Densetsu 3. And that was never released in the US in its original form until last year when they put out the collection for Switch. That was all 3 games.
Yeah.
But they have remade the third one and retitled it Trials of Mana for English and have released it. And it is quite pleasant, but it also has probably the jankiest voice acting from a professional modern Square. I don't know. Square's been really up and down with their English dubbing. I feel like they get really good actors and then have terrible voice direction. And this is kind of along the same lines. So
are these like regular actors? Because I know I didn't play Dragon Quest XI, but I looked up the voice cast and didn't recognize a single person in it.
I haven't looked at the voice cast, but let me pull it up and see if I have a thing. So while I'm doing that, Trials of Mana. I haven't hit credits yet, so I don't really know. But I don't think it's, they probably aren't super.
Boy, I don't know any of these people either.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's like, who are you people?
Yeah, Yeah.
Oh,
Alejandro Saab is the only one I know.
Brittany Cox.
Andrade. I don't know her. Stephanie Panicello. I think I've heard of her. So yeah, there are a few that I recognize a little bit.
She's been in Fire Emblem. That's why I recognized her name.
Is Trials of Mana from the not the game, but is it from the series of the JRPGs that you could play like co-op, like couch co-op?
You're probably thinking of the Tales games, but yes, you could play the original version of this couch co-op. But you can't do it in this remake, which is kind of unfortunate. But the original version, yes, you could. You could play it couch co-op.
Yeah, I'm thinking of this one because the original game is what, Legend of Mana, I think? No, wait.
Well, the original was Final Fantasy Adventure,
yeah.
And then Secret of Mana, and there have been some spin-offs.
Secret of Mana, yeah, that's it.
The PlayStation 1 game was Legend of Mana.
Yeah, you're right. There is a Legend of Mana spin-off.
Legend of Mana was great. It wasn't a spin-off.
Yeah, I was thinking of Secret. I was thinking of Secret of Mana though. That is the one that I was thinking of because that has a couch co-op capability.
Yeah, most of them did up until this remake, and they gave some bullshit answers to why they could not do it. But yeah, I don't think the bad voice acting is the fault of any of these voice actors because some of their lines are delivered really well, and some of them they're not. It's clearly the voice director did not know what the fuck they were doing. But I feel like that's everything. Like, I've heard clips of the Final Fantasy VII dub, and that doesn't sound good either. So
I think it's fine. That was 10.
That was 10, yeah.
I don't know my Final Fantasies very well, other than the memes.
Yeah, I mean, that was like 20 years ago at this point, and it was meant to be awkward. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII sounds all right. I don't know. I guess I'm not used to video game voice acting being that good, like on the same level as good anime dubs. So it's kind of okay to me.
Some of them are fantastic, like the Nier games. I mean, basically, is 8-4 in charge of the dub? Yes, it's gonna sound great. Every time Square has one of their projects, I always feel like the voice acting is never up to par. Lately, it seems it's just so weird.
I think 7 sounds fine. I am annoyed, as are a lot of people, that they recast every single character from the established cast for all of those characters throughout all the other properties, which makes no sense at all. But I think the voice acting's fine.
Man, never go pick up a Resident Evil game. I feel like they switch the cast every single game.
It's just weird because, like, they have been using all these same actors for all these same characters in every property since, what was Advent Children, 2003? And then now that they finally get to voice the characters in the original context, they recast every single person.
Figures.
And, like, some of them, they were in, like, a Dissidia game or whatever, like, a few months ago with the long-standing voice actor, and then they just changed it. Or Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Came out a few months ago or a year ago or whatever, and had some of these characters with their established voice actors, and then just recast them.
God.
Yeah, that's weird. But I think the voice acting is still fine.
Man, my brother is playing all of Kingdom Hearts right now, and I'm just like, dude, man. Why? And when I mean all of them, I mean all of them. Even the one that's just a movie.
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because I bought Caitlin Kingdom Hearts 3 Deluxe Edition and the Storied So Far collection.
Yeah, that's the one he
has.
Which
is, everything that was released before it. And man, that franchise is a fucking mess.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like you should just be able to stick to the numbered titles, and that's the story that you need to care about. But all the weird-ass fucking spin-offs with their dumb Square Enix titles are all essential to the story. It's super convoluted.
And the changing game mechanics, like the one that's a card-based. Like,
right.
Yeah, that was a Game Boy SP game.
Yeah. I'm just like, God damn it, why are you doing this to yourself?
I don't remember the name of the system. I'm like, I own that game.
The titles. Nothing is stupider than Kingdom Hearts titles. It's fascinating. I love it.
what's even funnier is that there's a remix of the original Nier game coming in production, and they gave it a title like Nier, and then they put some long ass number after it, which actually equals out to something. I can't remember what it means. It equals out to something. Oh, it's like version blah 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 version number, and that number actually breaks down to some like in joke jab at the Final Fantasy and its other Square title dumbass numbering systems. I was like, oh, Yoko Taro, that's great.
Is the Trials game? I know the Secret of Mana got some criticism when it first came out because of the radical art style change that they went with. Is Trials the same, or did they keep the? I'm guessing what would be 32-bit? No, 16-bit. I guess
it's full 3D. But it's not the cheap out, we made this look like a phone game bullshit that Square has used for a bunch of their other remakes. They actually went out of their way to make a full 3D game. It doesn't look like a AAA, but it does look like on the level of like a Tales game or something like to that effect.
It looks better than a mobile game.
It looks much better than a mobile game. It's like more on the level of like Dragon Quest Builders or something like that, but not blocks, obviously. It's full 3D. It's got this. It's an action game, relatively speaking. Not like, I'm playing on hard, and the first half of it is like super easy, and then I hit a boss that was just basically a freaking brick wall, literally and figuratively. It was like a wall you're fighting, and the AI of your companions is so freaking dumb that they were walking into every trap on the field and getting themselves murdered, and I had to spend a bunch of time just rezzing their stupid asses, and then finally I just gave up and beat the damn wall on my own, but it took way too fucking long. So, the uneven difficulty spikes that were in the original, totally intact if you're playing on hard in the remake, unintentionally, I think, so there's that. I don't know, I'm having fun with it, but, so if you want, like, a classic, like, action RPG, with a cute art style, it's available, and it is, I think it's only $50. Might be able to find it cheaper than that, so. I
like how, you shit all over Final Fantasy VII Remake for technically following some of the same storyline of a 25-year-old game, even though it was completely made from scratch, with 10 times more content, and it's $10 more than this.
I said that their marketing was not good because some people were confused that they were only getting as to what they were actually getting. So, but that's Square and their dumbass fucking can't title something to save their lives bullshit. So, yeah.
I would say Final Fantasy VII Remake is a more descriptive title of a Final Fantasy VII Remake than near the square root of 1.5, which is what that number actually was.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what it was, so.
I don't know how that fits into Square, but that's what it was.
That fits into Square because it's the square root of 1.5. Square root of 1.5. Poking fun at.
That's really the reason?
Yeah, like literally it is the square root of 1.5. So it's near 1.5, meaning it's 1.5, so they're adding stuff into it the same way that they did to the 7 remake probably, but they are basically poking fun at how the other Tetsuya Nomura titles is fucking shit, so.
Anything popular is fucking shit. You heard it here.
No!
That's a good common blanket statement.
Tetsuya Nomura has his head up his ass.
He is an extremely talented creator.
With his head up his ass.
I think you can be both. They're not mutually exclusive. There are plenty of people
this is true.
That are very talented creatively, but also have their heads up their asses.
However you want to define that, it means absolutely nothing, and he's a great creator.
When I think about
tell me about the plots of Kingdom Hearts again.
He didn't write Kingdom Hearts. He doesn't write any game.
But he's responsible.
When I think head up ass and both talented and creative, I think Edward Norton.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has any horror stories about working with Tetsuya Nomura. Seems like a decent guy.
You can still have your head up your ass and be a decent person.
But you're basing this on absolutely nothing. Because he has no scenario involvement in any game.
Maybe no one has any horror stories because he suppresses them all.
Sure.
He ain't letting that shit get out.
Let's just conjure up rumors about Tetsuya Nomura out of nothing.
Let's do it. That's how we're gonna get famous finally. Is we're gonna spread awful rumors about people.
Anyway, yeah, Trials of Mana, poor voice acting, good game, bad difficulties, problems.
Is that on the Switch? Because that might be kind of fun for like Emily and I to play sometimes, since you can couch co-op it.
Yes, it is on Switch.
Nice. That's what the Switch is basically turned into in this household. Is the couch co-op machine.
I said you can't play couch co-op on it.
I'm sure someone will finagle it someday.
They ripped it out. You can play the original couch co-op, maybe, if they left that in, presumably.
I'll figure it out. No big deal.
Figure something out.
I'll figure something out.
The original version does not have the voice acting, so.
So
the Japanese voice track is intact in the game if you want to play with the Japanese voices, although I heard they aren't that stellar either, so.
Pick your poison, I guess.
Good job all around.
So then, let's see. So that's Trials. We could swing it back around to Kestrel if you had something else. I mean, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I guess I'll briefly, again, recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake. Good game, good English voice acting, good Japanese voice acting, good everything. I don't know. I haven't had a problem with it yet.
I think it looks pretty nice. I don't know anything about the game or anything other than, I guess, the ending for this kind of, like, is weird in how it sits.
Yeah, they changed the story at the end of this game slightly from how it happened in the original, I guess.
Yeah, and some people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, this part of the story was such a tiny fraction of how involved they made it in this game. So it makes sense that they're changing a lot of stuff to expand it that much and make it feel like a full-fledged story. But yeah, it's probably the best looking game I've seen on a console. And it's not as...
Okay, here's my chance to poke fun at you. When was the last game you played before this?
I mean, I've seen footage from a lot of games. It's because I don't play them all. Why? What is a better looking game than this game that you haven't played?
I have played Red Dead Redemption 2. It looks considerably better than this game.
That you haven't played.
That I've seen plenty of footage from.
I think the PS4 exclusive God of War looks hella good.
There are a lot of very, very good looking games. Anyway, continue.
But, I mean, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake does look really good. I think the key for a lot of those games, and I'm assuming Final Fantasy VII does this, is that there are no destructible environments. So they can focus on making like character models and stuff look really good because they don't have to worry about all that other stuff taking up processing power. Because, I mean, God of War looks great, but also the environment is very static. And it's the same with a lot of games like that, like The Last of Us and things like that, where the character models and the important stuff like that looks really great, but the environments are pretty much set in stone. You can't really interact with them in any way.
Yeah, I'd say that's similar. Definitely the focus is on the character and creature models, but there are some destructible elements in the environment. But yeah, it's a great utilization of HDR, and it would look even better if I had a PS4 Pro, because then I could play it in 4K. So I don't get the 4K, but I get the HDR, and that helps a lot.
You probably noticed that more than the 4K, really.
Yeah, I mean, if I was close enough, I could probably notice the 4K pretty well, but it still looks very, very smooth. Anyway, my other recommendation, I will turn over to manga, and even more drastically different from Aria than Hunter x Hunter is Berserk. So Berserk has been running since the 80s. It is...
God, it has, hasn't it?
It has.
Oh, man, I forgot that stuff, like 88 or something. Oh, Jesus. All right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got 40 volumes out now. It's on a somewhat irregular schedule. It's kind of whenever he feels like it. There was a few years of a gap between a couple of them, and now it's about 1 volume a year or so. But yeah, 40 volumes, 350-ish chapters, 360-ish to catch up on is a good amount of content. And it's being re-released now in these incredible deluxe editions from Dark Horse. Those are the nicest manga volumes I own. I guess the Akira box set is a little higher quality overall, but as far as regular books, this is the highest quality. So the first 4 of those are out, looks like. Yeah. And yeah, if you haven't heard of Berserk, maybe you've heard of the anime adaptations. None of them do the source material justice at all. The 97 adaptation is a good series. It's a great series. But it only covers the first arc of the manga, and it hasn't aged that well. It definitely shows its age in not as favorable a way as some series do. So that's good if you just want to stick to anime, but even the most perfect Hunter x Hunter level adaptation could not possibly do the manga justice, because every fucking panel of that manga looks like it took Miura like 10 years to draw. It's incredible that he can even put it out at 1 volume a year with how much detail there is in the artwork. It's amazing. But yeah, it's my favorite manga, period. And it's the dark fantasy of all dark fantasies. It ranges from relatively grounded medieval action to absolute fucking mind-melting psychedelic fever dream for volumes on end. It is an incredible experience that's not quite like anything else in existence as far as I can tell, just with the range of its content and how it all fits together. And it's brilliantly written character drama. And it kind of changes what kind of series it is several times throughout its run, which is pretty interesting.
Now you could do that, or you could play Berserk and the Band of the Hawk.
Don't do that.
Which is great because it insinuates that Berserk is a person.
Right. Everyone's favorite character, Berserk.
I love Berserk is my favorite character in the show about him, Berserk, the main character.
Or you can watch the 2016 anime adaptation, which looks worse than the graphics of Berserk and the Band of the Hawk.
I'd say it looks worse than the graphics of the Dreamcast game.
Sure, that's fair.
That Dreamcast game apparently was pretty good back in the day, so yeah.
Yeah, what was it called? It was like Sword of the Berserk, I think. Yes, once again insinuating title. Once again insinuating that Berserk is the character. Yeah, it's called Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage.
Man, what is with people and titling stuff around us?
That at least that back in the day. No, you're right. Some of these games just get fucked up titles. What was the My Hero Academia game called? Something really fucked up because of some reason.
I don't know.
Oh, like the recent... I got to look it up now. Title for that was all screwed up.
Yeah, looking at some screenshots from the Dreamcast one, it looks arguably as good as the 2017 or whatever year that was.
That's so sad.
I believe it.
So I think if you play the Dreamcast game, you miss out on the frying pan sound effects.
Oh my god, so bad. So bad in so many ways.
Yeah, the My Hero Academia games have been called My Hero 1's Justice. In English.
Like they just cut off the rest of the the name, so it's just My Hero.
Like, here, I'll just give you a link and you can see, and this is really weird.
Google. Oh yeah, they did just cut it off. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't get that. Sure, I guess. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I wish you could like get in the mind of all the people who've done these anime adaptations of Berserk and just see what went wrong. Like, how does this keep happening to this beloved, very detailed, and I guess in a lot of ways you could say easily adaptable, because the story is really good and the art's good, so it's not like you have to make up a lot of shit off the top of your head. Like, you could just do a FMA Brotherhood kind of thing. Just go right from it, and people would murder each other for it.
Yeah.
But it just gets all these incredible abominations.
I mean, a straight one-to-one adaptation from like Madhouse or Wit Studio could be one of the greatest anime ever. I don't think it can live up to the artwork of the manga, because you just can't sustain that for 24 frames a second. You have to simplify it. It's way too detailed. But they could still make it look really great and just make a really solid adaptation overall. And the 2016 one was the only one that was really bad. The movie trilogy was, an insult to the source material, but that's kind of balances out with a masterpiece of a source material to just be an okay anime. And the 97 one was a decent adaptation at the time of the material available at the time, which makes it a great anime, but still nothing compared to, my favorite manga of all time.
You're sending a fun mixed signal. None of them were... The 2016 one was the only one that was bad. The movie was an insult.
Just because of how good the source material is, that balances out. The material is so good. That's why it takes the worst adaptation of all time to turn the most perfect A+ manga into fucking D-level trash.
Do you think there was a single person on the production side of that thought people would like that? Like, that legitimately thought that it would be accepted and well received, or if it was just like the marketing people had their work cut out for them.
Well, it's like Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, how did anyone think that this would be an appropriate adaptation of this material in any way?
I get Dragon Ball Evolution because it was made by Americans probably, and they didn't give a shit. Like, they probably didn't even read Dragon Ball or anything other than maybe a Wikipedia summary.
Yeah, they probably watched a few dubbed, edited episodes on Toonami back in the, early 2000s or something. But, like...
And then went from memory.
But for Berserk, it's just amazing that it got to the people that it got to adapt it, because these are people who have like no credits on their resume, and they were given Berserk, and then they had no resources to do anything.
It's so weird. Oh, it's so freaking weird. And then their excuse isn't good at all for what ended up happening. I remember seeing people trying to go like, "Hey, yeah, because we thought this would be something," and it's like, no, absolutely not. I know you didn't think that Dorohedoro looked great, but man, I saw a clip of it, and it looked great. So you could do complicated art in 3D with 3D and have it look good.
They didn't do it with 3D at all. They could have just, drawn it. Remember drawing?
Yeah, drawing. No, Dorohedoro looks pretty damn good. So fucking Berserk's just cursed.
Yeah, just read the manga.
Read the manga.
Read the manga at all costs. Ignore any piece of animation that's ever been created. I'd say
if you want to watch some anime, the 97 series is a good series. If you need more, the movie trilogy is watchable to good.
But you said it's an insult to... You got to figure out your marketing strategy.
I'm trying to explain how perfect source material and a non-perfect adaptation results in just good anime. Whereas...
I'm going I'm gonna say one thing though. If you are suffering any kind of depression, because of the lock-in and the quarantine, maybe don't watch that original series.
Yeah, I mean, in general, maybe don't consume Berserk.
Don't.
So, yeah.
Ignore Berserk just in general at that point.
Read the Berserk manga at all costs, unless you're depressed, and then avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. Not good for your depression.
It's better than Poon Poon.
No, don't read Poon Poon if you're depressed right now.
I'd say avoid also, Welcome to the NHK,
totally.
too.
Although...
That's probably a good one to steer clear of.
Ironically, now we're all Hikikomori.
At least now there's a frame of reference.
Yeah. Like, what's that? Oh, I understand. Wow, okay, we're at the 2-hour mark. Hey, look at that.
We each got 3.
This whole episode has been recommendations, so we can actually skip that.
Every fucking
unless
episode.
There's something.
just because.
All right.
These
does anybody have anything that came out?
Multi-100 episode series doesn't mean it's all that we can recommend.
All right. Recommendations.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kestrel, you can go first.
You can go.
Oh, because mine isn't really a recommendation for something new. It's also only a half. It's a half recommendation. It's a technical recommendation, I guess. So I didn't want to go first.
Okay. Would you like me to go first, or do you want to follow up into your actual recommendation?
You know what? Fine. I'm just gonna go. I would recommend. Kestrel and I talked about this after I watched it recently, but I will technically recommend the Space Adventure Cobra movie if you haven't yet, because it is the first. I believe it's the first American USA available 4K anime. So if you buy it for the $20 it's worth, you have a piece of history in a way, and 2, it looks really, really good. Everything else is weird as shit.
Yep.
And I normally like weird stuff, but even when I was watching this, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. There's just lots of naked ladies and some weird dialogue and a guy named Crystal Bowie. So it's like a half recommendation because it looks great. It'll take advantage of your HDR really well, better than a lot of live action movies will.
Yeah, the colors are amazing
because the colors be fucking popping. But unless you're really into fever dream-esque loose psychedelic stories that are kind of hard to follow. It's easy to follow but hard to follow at the same time. You know what's going on, but you don't know why any of it's happening.
None of it makes sense why it's happening.
Yeah, so it's not hard to follow in the sense of, wait, why are they, how'd they get there? But it's very hard to follow in, why is anyone doing anything?
It's fucking weird.
So, yeah, so it's fun to watch, and it's a piece of history to own, anime history, in a way. So I'm recommending it just for the experience that it provides. The only other 4K anime that I know of that will have any chance of getting soon is they're doing Castle of Cagliostro in 4K, if that's still happening.
Yeah. I'm
that's cool.
Very much
which will be cool in a way better movie.
Can't wait for that.
I don't think it'll be a better usage of HDR in 4K because it doesn't have the same type of holy shit color palette that Space Adventure Cobra has. But yeah, I would say get that just to have it and own a piece of history. And I don't know, maybe if you're on some psychotropic drugs, it's a lot better. I'm not sure. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, and there are the Gundam Thunderbolt imports that you can get on Right Stuff, and the Akira one just came out in Japan, and we're supposed to be getting an American one at some point. But nothing more has been said about that, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's why I left those out, because who knows when,
Yeah, as far as 4K, Ultra HD, Blu-ray discs of Japanese animation made for the US market, this is the only one that exists to date. The first native 4K anime is on Netflix. I think it's 3 minutes with no dialogue. not at all worth watching. And also, I'm rewatching Our Planet again on Netflix. Because when I watched originally, I didn't have like the 4K HDR Fire Stick or the 4K HDR Netflix plan. So now I'm like actually watching it properly. And like, man, it's great, but goddamn, I wish they'd let that be released on disc, because there's just the occasional compression artifact that just kills the fact that it could be one of the best looking things out there.
Yeah, I think luckily Netflix's like algorithms and bandwidths are some of the better ones out there. Like,
it'd be fucked on anyone else, but
I don't know if you've. Yeah, I don't know if you've tried watching something on like the HBO app.
I don't have HBO,
but HBO's is really bad. I think it's considered the worst out of all of them, like in terms of how many compression artifacts you'll see, and quality. Apparently, it's quite shitty. I've watched a couple things when they made it free for a while. I don't think it's free anymore, or it might be for a few more days. But yeah, there's a very noticeable quality difference, especially if you are streaming it to a 4K television, even if it's not 4K, just because it'll upscale it.
Yeah,
But Netflix has always been pretty good.
The only reason Netflix can get away with releasing almost nothing on disc is because, and when they have all of this, Dolby Vision 4K HDR content, is because they're the only service that can handle it. But it still would be just the tiniest bit better if you didn't have to worry about, one, in case their servers get a slight blip, or two, your own internet connection, which isn't necessarily going to be that reliable. Even my 1 gig connection, it's still Comcast. They're still going to fuck me.
Yeah, you're still getting bent over a barrel there. Yeah, we have that too. We have Comcast as well.
And a lot of these devices, don't have Ethernet ports, so you've got to lose that extra bit of it just streaming it over wireless. But yeah, it's definitely the best that any streaming service can provide, that's for sure. My recommendations, now, there's kind of an asterisk with any recommendation for new releases these days, because, who knows how many of them will hit their release dates. I think the Clannad Steelbook that I recommended last time that came out yesterday did come out on time, so that's good. But for more Steelbooks in the next few weeks, G-Kids has a few scheduled for more Miyazaki movies, speaking of Castle Cagliostro. So they are releasing Steelbook limited editions of Howl's Moving Castle and Ponyo. They look really nice. I wish they got all of the extra material that they did for Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro, because those had like really full books and soundtracks and everything. Those were nicer in that regard, but at least these have really nice packaging, and they use like the really classy minimalist Japanese Blu-ray release artwork and single color background instead of the same old Ghibli movie posters that you've been seeing for every re-release over decades, which is what the other Blu-rays have and the other limited editions. So yeah, Clannad Steelbook, Howl's Moving Castle Steelbook, Ponyo Steelbook, and then the week after those two, the Promare Steelbook, also from G-Kids. That is a great movie, looks great use of CG. If you're into Trigger stuff, especially, Proto Trigger, Gurren Lagann, this, I think, is Trigger's best anime, and it is the best kind of follow-up to what Gurren Lagann gave you that other stuff has only replicated in some small port. So there you go, lots of Steelbooks to get.
Cool stuff. I don't have anything else to recommend.
Yeah, Promare is a good one. That would be my honest recommendation as well, to buy that, because that movie fucking rules. Best thing ever. At least I think. Well, it's my second best thing from Trigger.
It's the best thing ever, but only the second best anime from this particular studio.
Listen, I'm not good at hyperbole. I second guess myself way too often to be able to make a statement like that.
What's
like DJ's best character ever every season. I can't do that because I second guess myself the instant the words come out of my mouth.
Trigger thing?
Little Witch Academia. I love that goddamn show / OVA. I even played the video game, which was mediocre, but I played that shit all the way through. I waited for it to go on hella sale, but still played it. Still counts.
I love the honesty.
That's what, yeah. I'll never lie to you about how much I am or am not willing to spend on things.
Cool, $20.
Hell yeah. Well, depending, like I said.
For
maybe $30.
What, 126 episodes or 136 episodes and 3 movies, you'll pay $30. Cool.
Yep, 30. But not a penny
60,
more.
Sorry, got my numbers transposed.
Not a penny more. And it better be free fucking shipping. Well, I think that covers everything for this episode, Kate. If you want to lead us on out.
Yeah, sure. Kestrel, where can you find us?
Thanks, Kate. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Subscribe, rate, review, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We have an Alexa skill. You can find us on fandompost.com. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at fandompostradio. You can get in touch with us. Email fandompostradio@gmail.com. And I'm on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. I haven't posted anything in a long time, I think. I don't know.
No better time than now.
I don't know what to post. Normally I post what I get, but I haven't gotten much in the mail lately.
I am on Twitter at SonicBug. I put a comic I drew earlier today of my hair getting longer up on Twitter. Maybe I'll draw some more comic strips and put them on Twitter. Who knows? I should probably learn how to use Clip Studio. And that'd be a good way to learn how to use it. Yeah, I don't know. Cain, you're still nowhere but here, right?
Correct. I am too lazy, even in the end times, to use social media. I don't want to think about what I have to post or what I should or should not post. Yeah, I don't blame you
because I never know what to post, so I just never post anything.
I mean, I do have a cat.
That would make it very popular very quickly.
Popular. Although I don't know, I told Caitlin to try to make our cat internet famous on Reddit, and she tried posting a bunch of stuff, and it didn't really get any traction. I was inspired by DJ's cat becoming temporarily Reddit famous.
What you have to do is you have her post it on her Reddit account, and then you repost it several hours later under your account.
I feel like it takes slightly more than that.
It's all TikToks now. You have to do a TikTok of your cat.
Definitely should have some videos in there.
See, you get it. You know how it goes. Whew. I think
somebody hire me as your social media manager. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Please send us your feedback. Tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about next. Tell us if you were watching any of these shows that we recommended on this podcast this week. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance yourself, become a oh, God help me.
You were close. You almost had it.
Cool.
Hikikomori.
Thank you. I can't speak English properly, let alone, attempt to pronounce Japanese words, so.
For the Japanese part.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Tune in next time, and we hope to be hearing from you here at Fandom Post Radio.
See ya.
Adios.